Hello, Imran. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, how are you coming along?
Actually, we done all. Yes.
Are you making progress? Do you feel like you're making progress?
Yes.
Good to hear. Now we're all back. Okay. Just briefly, let's go over what we did. So let me share the screen and the document, our classwork. And some of you started here with number 1. So I'm going to make it larger so it's more visible on the screen. Okay. Number 1, ego dunamai graphin autos dunatai agagen hosteles hoop agen. Question. This was actually straight out of the exercises in the back of the book, and I don't think it is a direct quote from the New Testament. But it does illustrate one use, and Brother Phineas has discovered additional. That's not unusual to have more than one use, but usually there's one primary use. So,
Hello.
I got group 1.
Dr.
One
Dr. Herbert.
was Phineas and Robin, and I believe Azariah, but I didn't know if he's on.
Hello, Dr. Herbert.
Yes.
Can you please mute Shahid Masih? There's a lot of noise.
Shahid Masih is muted.
Okay, now it's muted. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Robin, while you're on, no, let's see, from group 1. Yes, you were in group 1. What use of the infinitive, and if there's more than one, there may be more than one use, did you find here?
So I think it's actually complementing the main verb here, like the act of the main verb. So that's why it's complementary, because it's actually complementing the main verb. But like Brother Finhas was saying, it can have another use as well. I am able, which would mean that it kind of shows a purpose too.
Yes. He's
But
right.
mainly I think it is complementary because it is complementing the main verb.
That's correct. There are verbs in Greek, dunamai is one, and we have it here twice. I am able, he is able, and the question is what? To do what? It's kind of like if someone comes into your room, maybe if you're a father, your son who's maybe a teenager or in your youth group, a boy comes in, 18, 19, and says to you, I'm in love. And then you ask automatically the question, with whom? You know how it is with young people, they have these infatuations. And we've been through that period ourselves. And I know not all of you are married, but eventually you mature in your attitudes, and then the family arranges, usually a marriage. But if someone says, I'm in love, you have to know with whom. You can't just have this statement out there without finishing it. I am in love with whom? Oh, I don't know. I'm just in love. No, that makes no sense. Same with these verbs. Dunamai, they always need an infinitive. Dunamai, he is able, graphein, to write. He himself, dunatai, autos, is added and strengthens it actually tells us more information that it is, first of all, masculine. He himself is able what? To lead or to bring or to go, depending on the context, agakin. And then we have how do you want? In English, we have to supply, when we have a question like this, we have to supply a helping verb, not just how you want, but how do you want to depart? Hup ago means I depart. So how do you want to depart? These are all complementary. Now, Brother Finnis has noted that there may be a sense of purpose. He is able, or he wants. How do you want? And that is a secondary, perhaps, but it's not the primary use of the infinitive. I'd like to go down because our time is limited to this one, and this the seventh one, which is out of the Septuagint, the Greek translation, which was done just before the time of Christ by the Jews, and became a Christian book, actually, the Old Testament, which the apostles used. There's more than one version of it, and that makes things a little complicated when the Old Testament is quoted in the New Testament. But I just took this verse out of Genesis 4. Kai Apen, page 106 in your textbook, lists the strong aorist verbs. If you have forgotten those, by all means, go back and review them. And Cain said, pros abo, to Abel. There is actually a breathing mark missing on the alpha. Abo, ton adolphon. Abel. What does that mean? Ton adolphon. Anil. Sunny.
Yes. Ton Adolfon, uh, your brother?
Who
Ton
is brother?
adolphon al tu.
Of how to is genitive, so it would be how to, of him, of he, like him, I think.
Okay. Sunny. How would you translate? Pros abo ton adolphon al tu.
With Loman.
You just need to unmute and answer the question, then mute your microphone again.
Okay. Pros, ton, Adelphon, or two. Abel of his brother.
To Abel, his brother. Yes,
Brother.
right. We got Altu. That's his brother. Now we have actually a subjunctive, a hortatory subjunctive, and I want to look at the uses of a subjunctive from chapter 16. Let us go out, dia erchomai, but this is the aorist. Let us go out into the field. And it came to pass, again, it happened, we say now. Into ene autus.
Sir, excuse me.
Yes.
Somebody's mic is unmuted and the noise is hitting.
Okay, Sonny, thank you. If you're, I can mute. I don't know. I don't think it's Reverend Finnis. Let's see. Brother Robin, I just muted you. We do have some interference, but feel free, when you answer a question to chime in, we say, and then mute again. Okay, this verb is a subjunctive, and we'll go over those uses just now quickly. Let us go out into the field. And it happened. And then we have this ani, which is the infinitive of ami, to be. It looks rather strange. In the to be them. And you might have hopefully realized that this is the accusative of subject with the infinitive. And it simply is saying, they were in the field, or as they are in the field, because I need something in English to describe in the field they. Now, it seems strange to us that the accusative would be used as the subject of a sentence or a clause. But there is this construction in New Testament Greek, and it's also here in the Septuagint, which is also Koine Greek, 100 years or maybe 200 years before the birth of Christ. So the Septuagint sometimes is a little different in its language. You know how our languages change over time. If you heard a person speaking American English 100 years ago, it would sound very different, even though it would be most of the same words, but except they would not have things like computer or modern things. They wouldn't have those words. And if you go back 150 years to the time of Abraham Lincoln, one of our famous presidents in the Civil War, you would find Americans speaking a very more like King James Bible, the King James Bible, than it's very unusual. But so languages change over time, but it's still Koine Greek. So it uses the same construction. Egeneta into enai autus. Autus is the subject here with the infinitive. So watch out for this in the New Testament, because it happens very often that the subject is they, autus, accusative, if there is an infinitive with it. Now, also the infinitive is used as a noun or substantive, into enai. You know that because you have a preposition with the dative case. So we have the infinitive used as the object of the preposition into enai. So we have, again, Brother Finas has brought out two things. Has brought out this the fact that there can be more than one use for an infinitive. And here we have it. We have it used as the subject with autus. No, autus is the subject, but used together. And then we translate in English like the infinitive is an indicative verb. So they were, or they are in the field. And the present tense is probably used here to emphasize what's happening. It's happening. They are in the field. It's happening before our eyes. Present tense infinitive, in the field. And Cain rises up and kills his brother, as the verse goes on. But I didn't take that part. I'm going to leave that there. I hope that you're able to, I can't do this work for you.
Dr. Herbert,
Yes,
Dr.
go
Herbert,
ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question. So the subjunctive that we had in that last sentence, the use of that subjunctive, is it hortatory? Like, let us do something, like suggesting others to do
Bilkul
something?
Dermian. Exactly. It is subjunctive.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And if you now go, if you look on your chart, and you need to become familiar with this chart. They were on page 5 here of the chart. Brother Dr. Wesley and I have agreed that KMP is going to become worn, he said, worn and tattered by the time anyone finishes the MPhil. So you might as well start getting used to reading and understanding as much as you can from KMP, from the book. And then you have the pages, the laminated pages, the summary of the book, which lists the uses of infinitives. Complementary is one that we just had. We had actually 3 of them in the first sentence that we looked at. Purpose. Brother Finnes noted that there's a bit of purpose in that first exercise as well. Here he has used, don't assume I came to destroy, kata lusai, and there luo, the verb we know, is joined together with the preposition kata. And kata is usually something bad or something destructive. It has that kind of sense. So if you add it to a verb of it, if you have kat luo, loose, but if you have kata luo, it's destructive. Don't assume I came to destroy the law. Matthew 5:17, ton namon. But here the infinitive is used for purpose. Now, result, number 3, they filled the boat so that, I put this one in, but we didn't get to it, they began to sink, which is, there's also a sense of, I've forgotten what we call that. There's a grammatical term for began to sink. We use the aorist tense for that, so that has to do with tense. Here we're looking at infinitives at mood, not tense. We have present. We've learned present tense and aorist tense. They filled eplesan amphotara, both ta ploya boats. Ta ploy on is boat. Neuter plural is alpha ploy a. They filled both the boats so that the result, they began to sink. Now, this is not purpose. They didn't purposely fill the boats up in order to sink them. That's the difference between purpose and result. It was just the result of what happened. Then there's temporal, which is a little more complicated. But I hope you also, and then we have also sometimes cause and means. These are not as often present as the ones that the first 3 or 4. But please go through these and read the book and try to understand the uses. We need to understand the uses of the infinitives and the uses of the subjunctive. And I'm going to turn to that now. I realize that you still have questions, but I would, first of all, encourage you to make use of our tutors, Brother Masood and Ms. Zanaria. They are more than willing to help you. You just need to make an appointment and ask them. It is more difficult for me from this distance, and unfortunately, I'm 10,000 miles away, to do a good job of tutoring. So I'm asking them to do that job. If there's something that's still totally unclear, they can bring it to me and we can discuss it together. But I would like to leave this page. And again, I encourage you, remember that infinitives can be used like nouns. Okay. To be or not to be, that is the question. In that case, to be is used as a subject. So it's used like a noun, or not to be. And it's also used, the whole clause, to be or not to be, that is the question. That whole clause is in a way used as what we call a substantival use. Substantival means, actually it's a broader concept than noun. Noun is the name of something, but a substantive, it can be a phrase, it's substantival. To be or not to be is the subject of that sentence. To be or not to be, that is the question. So to be or not to be is the subject, and the word question, actually, we call not a direct object, we call it a predicate, because it defines, or it tells us more about the subject. The verb, in other words, the verb is never has a subject. It can't have a subject. It is bringing two objects together. And the second one is a description, or predicates. It is a predicate of the first. Hope I'm not getting into too much grammar, but we've had that before. But here we have, for example, John 1:12, the use, a substantival use. He gave them exousian, the right, children of God to be. He gave them the authority. Exousian is authority. It's sometimes translated power, but that's not a good translation. He gave them the authority, the right to be his children, to be children of God. So the one who comes to Jesus, believes and trusts in him, becomes a child of the Heavenly Father. It belongs to the heavenly family. And there's nothing more important than that. I am often thinking about, what does this person think about me? What does he think about this that I did? And then I realized it doesn't matter. What matters is what God thinks. In other words, I want to please my Heavenly Father, not please people. Now, it pleases my Heavenly Father often if I do please people, but not always. There are some things that people like that God doesn't like. But let's go on. I want to go to the section before this on the subjunctive, and it is up here. For some reason, separate from infinitives, subjunctive mood, and this is on page 4 of the laminated pages. And you notice we have 9 uses, and I added 10th, substantival use. See the top of this page, and right at the top of my page, I added the phrase with the subjunctive verb is used as a noun, often with hoti or hinna in a phrase. Then he commanded his disciples. Here we have tote, then he commanded, tois, mathetais, his disciples, that they should tell no one. It is not purpose and it is not result. It's actually the object of what of commanded. He commanded them that they should tell no one. And that's what we call a substantival use. It's used like a noun. It's used as the object of the command. He commanded them what? Hinna medini eposin hoti autos estin ho Christos. That they should tell no one that he is the Messiah. Because as soon as they use this word, ho Christos, then they have a revolutionary movement started on their hands. And actually, when he entered Jerusalem, coming from the east, up the mountain, and then down the Mount of Olives, as he came with the crowd of mostly Gentile Christians or Gentile followers, sorry, Gentile Jewish followers. It was a revolutionary movement on the minds of many of them. And he was always putting the brakes on this because he came to die first, not to reign as king. They want to make him king. They've tried to make him king before. And he's not coming as king. As soon as he uses the word Messiah, Christos, the anointed one, then there are huge expectations. And then even they start before. So he is careful not to use this word until just before his crucifixion. Just explaining the meaning of that verse, but right now our concern is the phrase, Hinna Medeni Aposin. They should tell Medeni as accusative case. No one. It's put forward in the sentence. That's emphasis. Now, let's go through these uses of the subjunctive here. And if you need to make notes on your laminated pages, I suggest you do so. You can do it with a right pen. Some pens will write on plastic, and you might want to get one that does. I make notes all over mine. The problem is that I rub on them with my fingers, and my fingers have oil on them. Then it comes off. Or you put some liquid that I don't know if you call it something as a spirit or a rubbing alcohol, we call it here. It will take it off. So if you want to erase it, but I like to write on these pages some notes. I have notes from other books, for example. Here are the uses of the subjunctive that we learned in last semester. And these are not in the textbook. They're not in chapter 16. Chapter 16 describes how the subjunctive is formed in the present and aorist tenses. It explains how it is formed in the me verbs. You need to review those forms, but I'm talking about use here. Purpose. John the Baptist came, hinne martorese peri to photos, in order that he might testify concerning the light. So purpose often with hinne. Result. Remember the result difference from purpose and result. Purpose, someone is purposely doing something. Result, something happens. There was no intention for it to happen. Who sinned, this man or his parents, that as a result, genethe, he was born blind. We haven't had the aorist passive. We won't have it until the 4th semester, Greek 4. But you can get used to theta eta is a passive, aorist passive ending. But notice, please, we have here 2 nous. Don't confuse the verb genao with genomai. The aorist of genomai is egeneto with 1 nous. But the aorist of the verb genao has 2 nous. So very often students mistake genomai, the aorist form, egenomen, I became, or I are more often the 3rd person singular, egeneto. It happened, for example, is used very often. We used to translate it came to pass, but that's King James. We don't say that way anymore. It happened. And here he says, who sinned, this man or his parents, that as a result he was born. This is the verb genao, to bear or to give birth to, that he was born blind. So they are assuming that if someone is blind, his parents sinned. But their assumption is wrong, but here it's still the use of the subjunctive is the result. In Africa, we discovered among some people that they assume that if a person is born white in their country, that their parents had relations during the daytime. So they had white an albino child, which is a horrible thing because then the child gets treated as a second-class citizen rather than as a loved like every other child. They are different. We treat each other very badly sometimes. Conditional use of the subjunctive. Eon is, or a similar word. If anyone, terese, if anyone keeps my word. Tereo, to keep or to guard. If anyone keeps, holds on to, guards my word. This is not just, doesn't say reads my word. It says keeps my word. There's difference. But notice the conditional use, if, is very common. Then we have indefinite relative and indefinite temporal, whoever or whatever, whenever, with temporal. We have hortatory, which we just had in that sentence in the last exercise. Let us do good. Ergadzomai means I work, I do, I am accomplishing something. Let us accomplish good to everyone, for everyone. Tos pantas. Deliberative is a use, should we continue? And deliberative always is in a question. So you have to have a question in order, there's question mark is missing here, but you must have a question in order to have a deliberative use of the subjunctive. Should we continue? Should we remain in sin? Menno here, epimenno, but still menno. Emphatic negation, ou me. Now, normally me is with any mood outside of the indicative. So here it would be me, but we have ou me, emphatic. You will absolutely not ever enter the kingdom of heaven unless you are transformed by God. You need transformation. Then we have regular prohibition. Do not think I've come. Me no mis ete. And then I've already talked about the substantival use. So for next time, your homework is going to be some exercises from chapter 16. You will have a pop quiz. You will have a class quiz, sorry. So you will always, or almost always, be asked to first go to Moodle, give the quiz, and then join the class. That way I see whether you are on time. And then you also have a quiz grade. If you miss a quiz, if you're late, one time doesn't matter so much, but if you keep missing quizzes, it's not good for your CPGA. Your CPGA, I think is right. Your marks in the class. I will post the homework for class 5 on Moodle, and you do not have to post any homework for class 4. That's my problem, my mistake, that for some reason the homework was not posted. But you still have the job. You have now 5 days until Tuesday to review. You need to really put your mind to reviewing chapters 1 to 16, because on next Tuesday, I'm going to continue. It's the 3rd week, and we need to make progress. So next week we start with chapter 18. And I will assume that you understand, or you're beginning to understand, even if you still have difficulties with the first 16 chapters. Use chapter 17 to review. It's a good one for that. You can look up the answers in the back. You need to take some time. It is challenging, but it is good. No pain, no gain. Here I am talking to you and not looking at you, but our time is up. And again, I thank you for your attention, and you may now go. I'll stop the recording of this class if anyone wants